Burgess here with Move to Improve. We got,
Dr. Alex Fitzwich.
and I'm just to introduce our guest for today. Super excited for this one. We have Sachin
Yes.
Latti.
Thank you.
Yes.
Perfect.
Nailed
Nailed it.
So nervous all week about it. Now it's not that bad. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, man.
So he's a lot of things. He's got a lot of kind of accomplishments underneath the belt, but among some, he's a veteran, a bodybuilder, a law enforcement officer, a marathonist with some great big ambitions, a Magnum and Lululemon sponsored athlete. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, man, you got it all right there, actually.
All right.
Well done, well done.
Yeah, so, we're really excited to get you on. I know you've done quite a few podcasts in the past, and you've been just kind of snowballing in awareness and getting your name out there and getting your vision out there. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your goal
Okay.
and how you came to this goal?
So just in a nutshell, my name is Sach. I've been a law enforcement officer for the last 18 years and fairly active for most of my life. Over the last few years, I've kind of dabbled into the ultra-endurance running sort of atmosphere. And through that process, I've been raising awareness and funds for a charity called the Honor House Society that supports and takes care of veterans and first responders and emergency personnel with occupational stress injuries and PTSD. And man, I've been running around for the last 2 years raising money and awareness.
That's awesome. And so tell us a little bit about Honor House and what that charity is.
So Honor House is a charity so I'm from Vancouver, right?
Okay.
And it's a charity in the Vancouver area that supports, the way they support veterans and first responders is in the province of British Columbia. So anytime a member has an issue like, any medical issue really, and if they live in northern BC, they can come down to the Vancouver area, stay as long as they want and get whatever treatment that's needed for them. And they can stay free of charge, they can bring their families down, and they can all stay together. Now the funds that I'm raising specifically go towards Honor Ranch. It's another facility that they're building in Ashcroft, BC, which is about 4 hours away from the Vancouver area. And they have 10 cabins there on 120 acres. It's a beautiful area, and it's for members to go there to get cutting edge treatment for the mental health issues, equine therapy and various other kinds of things that they can get there. So the funding really goes towards, that I raise goes towards Honor Ranch, and that's what they do and why I'm doing all this fundraising and awareness.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that part of it. So that's the charity side. That's what we're going to benefit. What is it that you're doing that you're raising money for?
So in a nutshell, over the last 2 years, I've been running ultra endurances. So I started first time in 2021. I ran 100 kilometers in just under 15 hours to raise that awareness. And really, when that happened, I was like, okay, wait, maybe I'm onto something here.
Yeah.
Because I ended up raising $21,000 on November 7th, 2021. For that for the charity, and I was like, okay, wait a second,
Yeah,
something here. And so what I did last year is I scheduled myself to do 9 ultra marathons, starting in March until November. And for your listeners, an ultra marathon is 50 kilometers or more in one event. And I just started running 3 years ago.
That's crazy.
So I wasn't a runner naturally, right? So I kind of went all in. I decided I was going to do something, and I have a purpose behind it. And that's kind of what's driven me so at a velocity that's, I don't know, it's a pretty fast velocity that I've been kind of getting after things.
Yeah.
And from my understanding, most people don't do 9 ultra marathons in a year.
No.
I didn't know that. And like I said, I'm new to this whole running world,
Yeah.
right? So I don't have a frame of reference to anything. It's just me kind of coming up with ideas and concepts and just trying to execute against those things.
Yeah. Wow, man. So I think this whole Honor House as a charity is just so cool because, when money goes to charity, you don't really know how exactly that money's being used, but like for this, you kind of get a good sense like, wow, this would be so beneficial and impactful because so many veterans or law enforcement officers and people that are frontline workers just fall through the cracks, right?
Yeah, they do.
And they're not being looked after.
And the charity of Honor House has only one employee. So I vetted it very closely before I elected to join the charity, and I see what they do all the time, and I'm there kind of watching how things are run, and I mean, not how they're run, but how they help people and the people that are helped. And so the president of the charity, his goal is to have an honor house in every province, right? And my commitment to him has been, cool, I'll spend the next 10 years figuring out how to do that.
Yeah.
So let's get after it.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And so obviously this is super important to you.
Yeah.
You've been pretty open about your feelings towards mental health and being an advocate for that. And so do you want to just touch on
Sure.
how did that become so significant for you?
Yeah, so I've struggled with my own mental health issues pretty much most of my life, but I never really thought I was struggling. Like, you just,
Yeah.
Seems normal.
It seems normal, right? I was just living my life, right? And but like many people, I suspect, reevaluated their lives during the pandemic, and I was going through a separation and a divorce, so I was presented with the type of guy I was, and I wasn't a good husband, and I wasn't a good person, to be honest.
Man, that takes so much. That takes so much just balls to be like, hey, I could have been better.
Yeah, and well, it took me a while to get here.
Yeah.
And so, but to be honest, I wasn't, and I could understand why my ex-wife wanted a divorce, and so yeah, I was presented with the type of person I was. I took some time to reflect on all those things, and I wanted to be a better person. At the end of the day, this is what I actually said to myself: I want to be a better person for myself and everyone around me, and that was it. And I used that as a mantra for the last 3 years. That's essentially what I've been saying to myself every single day. So I want to be a better person for everyone around me. And that's what precipitated, or at least started, this whole journey.
Yeah, I think that's so huge with the whole mental health bit, is like it has to be every day to create that habit. Like so many times we kind of hit those lows and we're like, I want to change, I want to do this, and then a week goes by and you lose track of it.
Well, I mean, so to that point, it's like I was struggling a lot. So it wasn't like, oh yeah, I'm getting a divorce. No, I was a hot mess.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't in a good spot mentally. And I was extremely depressed and I had massive anxiety towards a lot of things. And then it came into the workplace, and the workplace kind of was, an added tension. So a whole bunch of things were happening all at the same time that, I was like, okay, things aren't going in the right direction. And because of the pandemic, well, now my physical activities reduced because I couldn't engage in jiu-jitsu I was a jiu-jitsu guy, right?
Right.
Jiu-jitsu, and I would lift. And so for me, if anyone knows anything about depression, the lack of connection with people is what really exacerbates the depression. Yeah. And jiu-jitsu was a connection point for me. I'm hanging out with my friends, chatting, all the things, right? So, that also, the removal of that. So I didn't have any coping mechanisms during the pandemic. And I used to drink a lot. And I knew at that moment, if I started drinking, it would have been around. So I made a commitment, okay, I'm not gonna drink. So then I started kind of working on myself, reading some books, and I spent a year just isolating myself, training, running, figuring out how to run. I was running 5K, that's all I could do.
Yeah.
I hadn't ran since high school, man. I'm 45 now, and I hadn't ran since I was 18, 17.
Yeah.
So I was like, what the heck is a 5K? Okay, let's see what that is. And I started, it wasn't anything special. It was like 35 minutes, a 5K. And I didn't even know if that was good or bad because I had no frame of reference.
No, yeah.
So I was like, okay, let's do that 3 times a week. And then through that process, I kind of started learning, reading, researching on my own. And then that first year, I trained myself to run 100K, and I did that thing. And then after that is when I had a significant paradigm shift in perspective. I was like, okay, this is what I want to do forever.
Yeah.
Because I love that sort of the physical activity and helping people. And that was it.
So I just want to ask, was running like, hey, it's COVID, I'm really not allowed to do anything else? Like, why don't I just put some shoes on and just go?
No,
or was it something else that
it was deeper than that.
It was different.
It was deeper. If I didn't start running, I don't know if I'd be here right now. That's how significant.
Yeah.
Because like I was in a bad spot, and I had to do something. So it was much deeper than, just need to stay active. It was for my brain.
Yeah, and so part of the reason I ask is because you've come from such a different realm of athletics, right? Like we talk, we know you're into bodybuilding.
Yeah.
You actually competed, right?
Yeah.
Which is amazing because you're training a totally different part of your body, totally different system, different adaptations, right? The purpose is hypertrophy, throwing weight around. Now you're trying to make you are making this huge transition to the opposite side of the spectrum, right? You're training your cardiovascular system, creating more mitochondria in the cells, different fibers, right? Your type 1 fibers versus your more weightlifting type 2 fibers, right? So big adaptations that have to happen to make that transition. How's that been?
It's been a trip, man. It's been a process, the whole thing. Just a physical process, a mental process, of understanding the sport, changing my running mechanics. Like that alone took me 6 weeks.
Yeah, people think you just like put your shoes on, go out and run. I'm going for a run. It's like, no, this is a sport, just like any other sport.
Yeah, and that's what I thought.
Yeah.
I was like,
Everyone
okay, well, I can, whatever.
I can run.
Yeah.
I'll walk fast.
I only changed my mechanics last December.
Yeah.
That's when I started, because I was running, I was doing all these things. I was like, and I wasn't fast or anything. But after that first year, and I'm speaking to some friends and people with a little bit deeper knowledge than I have in terms of ultra endurance stuff, and they were like, you need to start, like, you're getting to a level now where you probably need to hire a coach. And so I did. I started kind of vetting different people, and I met a guy, a coach, Ron Lowen. He's a phenomenal runner and a phenomenal coach. And the reason why I hired him and to join the team is because I knew, and my ultimate goal is to break the record to run across Canada with the fastest time. And to do that, I have to run 108 kilometers per day at a 5.5 kilometer pace the entire time.
Oh my God.
Sorry, one more time?
Yeah.
So 108 kilometers per day at a 5.5 kilometer pace.
Oh my God.
Right? So
that's not slow. That is not
That's hard
slow.
for like my brain to even accept.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just kind of sounds like
me
numbers,
too.
but the actual grueling work involved. Sorry, go on.
So I knew that was like, I had set a 5-year plan, right? So I knew he's like, okay, I need to get fast, and I'm slow as heck.
Yeah.
So I started searching for people and coaches that were fast, and he's fast.
Right.
So I was like, okay, man, I need some help here. And so he started creating protocols and planning and running sort of stuff that I needed to do, and really kept it very basic, because last year I was doing 9 ultras. I couldn't develop. There was no room for me to grow.
You just train.
It was like I was just trying to get through those things.
Yeah.
And then after the 9 ultras, he's like, okay, now we gotta actually like really sit down and think about how we're gonna attack this.
Yeah.
So we started with changing the mechanics. So I spent 6 weeks just doing that. And as soon as that started happening, I was like, oh, wait a second. Okay, now I'm starting to see some development here. And then slowly we started just increasing volume, decreasing volume, adding speed, marathon pace, all these different things that are associated with training.
And that's a very good point. It's like, it's not just, clench and just run, grit your teeth and just run as far. Like, hey, let's talk about mechanics, right? Maybe that's the bottleneck in your performance.
Yeah.
And that's something that a lot of people need to think about. For sure, willpower is huge, but if you're not running properly, not only are you going to end up with lots of injuries that are going to prevent you, but you're also just going to not be using your full optimal performance. So how did you improve the mechanics in that sense? Like, if you can get a little techie with us.
So I'll start off with just the mindset part first. So I started thinking, okay, I'm in law enforcement, right? So, but I had to shift my mindset, because I had the mindset of law enforcement, and I had to shift my mind into, oh, okay, I'm a professional athlete. What do I need to do to become a professional athlete? Like, now if I'm at work, I'm a professional there.
Yeah.
So I understand what it means to be a professional.
Do that everywhere else.
So I started applying it, okay, I'm a professional athlete now. What do I need to do? How do I need to figure this out? Because the mindset I got, like I know I can grind, I know I can push, I know I can do these things, and I can, do it in circumstances or scenarios where they're not ideal, right? So I thought, man, if I could fix my mechanics, then I can, it's off to the races, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I started doing, I was with my coach for 2 weeks straight, and I would just be it. To be fair, I picked it up fairly quick, but it was just the practice of repeating it over and over again. So it was really 4 sessions with my coach where I fixed the mechanics. Now the mechanics, what I mean is not heel striking.
Yeah.
That's very number one was the heel striking. I was picking up speed, slowing down, picking up speed, slowing down.
Too much impact all
right?
the time.
And then that would chain reaction all the way up my legs and my hip flexors and all these other sort of assisting muscles start feeling things.
Yeah.
And it would like I could still push through it, but man, it was like my recovery would then be diminished. So for the next day, it was like I'm not set up for the next day now, and the day after.
Slippery slope.
So it just kind of continues all the way, right? So it was really that was the first part. Okay, where do I? So stopping the heel striking and finding where to place my foot and feet when I'm actually running. And for me, that was a bit of a. It took me about 6 weeks to figure that out because at the first I was front foot. I was just hitting my front foot and just like, oh, my calves are feeling it now. All these other things are starting to feel it. And only until I was really striking midfoot, things started really changing. And then I was feeling less pain after.
Yeah.
And my recovery was faster. And everything just shifted from that.
That's so huge, and a lot of very competent runners also just never figure that out exactly. And so for our listeners, like when you strike with your heel, like you're almost trying to use your foot like it's a rocking boat, and it's not that. It's supposed to be a shock absorber, right? So if you're throwing your heel out, first of all, it's pushing you in the opposite direction, so you're losing all your velocity, and then it's just a ton of impact into your heel, when in reality you want to land with that whole foot and absorb the shock. Use your toes, use your foot as a tripod, and kind of absorb through there, which is really quite difficult to do, and in part because the way shoes are made kind of reinforce this negative bad mechanic, right? So that's a big accomplishment on its own.
And I was super stoked as soon as I was able to. I'm not the best at it, but I'm way better than I was before.
Feel the difference.
Because also my volume is so high, I'm getting faster at improving the mechanics because I'm just doing it all the time, right?
Yeah.
So I'm always, and this is probably maybe good for the listeners too, I'm very intentional on what I'm doing all the time. So like when I'm even running, I'm paying attention to what I'm doing so that I can in real time shift and improve it while I'm actually doing it.
Yeah.
And then that way, the next day is even better. So I'm always thinking about improving it.
That's one of the cool thing about running is like it allows you that time for meditation and self-awareness and reflection and really just being having that body-mind connection down pat. And something I wanted to ask you was, so you're going from this, bodybuilding, massive frame, down to a more slender physique, and how does that part of you like, oh no, I don't want to lose the the size and the weight and the strength. I mean, you're getting something else in return, but there's going to be somewhat of a trade-off there, right?
Oh, for sure. So there's a few things to that point. So when I stopped bodybuilding competitively 10 years ago, but I've always maintained a decent size and physique. I could have stepped on stage at any moment.
Yeah. And you still do.
Yeah,
You're still a big guy.
I'm smaller now.
But for running for 3 years, it's still relatively.
My legs actually got bigger.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
They actually did.
Yeah.
Like maybe
The
not big,
high volume training.
The high volume training. So I was like, man, I should have started running earlier for bodybuilding. Anyway, but
That's a good point.
I digress.
That is a good point.
Something that we'll talk about after.
Yeah, but sorry, I lost my train of thought there. What was the question again?
Transitioning from the frame of bodybuilding.
And how did I feel?
Just size-wise.
So that was about 10 years ago, and I still had the mindset, I don't want to lose my size, I don't want to lose my strength, I'm still training that way, I'm still eating that way. Until I started jiu-jitsu. And when I started jiu-jitsu, I'm 45 now, I started when I was 39. And then the shift of caring so much about how I looked shifted into performance.
Yeah.
Right? So that was an awesome transition. And then when I started running 3 years ago, it wasn't as much of an issue. It was still a little bit, but then what really sealed the deal was my purpose. So my purpose is greater than myself. I don't care what I need to do. it's mission focused. So if I need to be 125 pounds and my body transitions into that, cool. Because I'm doing the things necessary to make my body become what it needs to be. If it turns into whatever it does, that's fine. I'm okay with that. Because that'll get the goal done.
Yeah, it's letting go of the aesthetics or whatever. I mean, you're still gonna look jacked at the end of the day, but that's important. And to the point of running, even if you're trying to achieve hypertrophy with your 10 to 12 rep range, you're gonna kind of meet that plateau, and you're gonna get better benefit out of trying different rep ranges, different activities, endurance, more power-based exercises. So anybody that's stuck in the same type of exercise, there's your lesson to kind of branch out.
That too, I think also to be fair, a lot of people think, oh, I'm gonna lose my gains. Yeah, okay, if you're the best of the best of the best.
Yes, yeah.
I'm not the best of the best of the best.
Yeah, your running isn't killing you that much.
No,
yeah.
If you're the cream of the crop, tip of the spear, okay, yeah. But if you're just some average Joe, yeah, go for a run, man. You can do a half marathon. It ain't a big deal.
It'll help.
It really isn't.
You're not gonna notice the kill in your gains.
It'll actually make you better.
Yeah.
Right. It'll improve your mindset. As you guys probably know, when you stress your body to such a severe degree, it's the same thing as stressing your mind.
Yeah.
That your body can't differentiate between the two.
Yeah.
So if you're stressing your body significantly and you're giving it time and food and rest, now you've developed mental capacity and resilience. So go for a run, 20K or whatever it is.
For
if
sure.
you can.
And your cardiovascular system, your tissues, you should probably develop that blood supply to your muscles in the first place. And if that's totally neglected, that's got to be a limiting factor for how big you can grow.
Mm-hmm.
So something we definitely want to touch on, we're chiropractors, and we work with people that are injured all the time. And so your dream is pretty big here. And so we know that exercise and running, it doesn't deteriorate your joints and your muscles and all your tissues. It strengthens it unless you're moving with a dysfunction, you're compensating, which you are working on that for sure. But if you're also exercising past the point of exhaustion where your tissues are no longer able to support your joints, you're going to hit that point where you start to abuse things a little bit, right? And so this is a conversation that I feel like we need to bring up is, are you okay with the idea of, injuring yourself, but, you could have potential, running across Canada, you could have potential lifelong injuries from this. Have you put some thought into that?
Yeah, I've thought about everything, or at least every scenario possible. Yeah. Because if I don't, if those things happen, then it's going to cause a mental problem for me.
Right.
So I have to almost frame and stress inoculate myself in advance. So the reality is I probably will get injured.
Something.
The reality is, right? I mean, yeah, it will happen. I'm running 22 marathons in August straight.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm already feeling some things.
Sure.
That will likely be exasperated then. So I'm already preparing my mind for those things in those events. And I'm mitigating as much as I possibly can. I have a team of people that are supporting and helping, RMT, physio, these various different things. But at the end of the day, volume is volume, right?
Yeah.
And if my body, hasn't been sustaining that volume ever, like this month alone, I'll be running over 500 kilometers.
Yeah.
Like this month.
Nuts.
And so that's a lot. And so really my only deficiency, and I have one significant one, is my feet and ankle area. Everything else is not too bad because I've developed enough muscle and strength and endurance
for it, yeah.
for that stuff. So it's really just, I haven't done that kind of work for feet and ankles, and that's just time on my feet. I just have to put time on. And so to your point, I have been thinking about those things. And if I do end up with a permanent injury, I'm okay with that, because the ultimate goal is to do what's necessary to help some people. I really don't care, to a certain degree, whatever's needed. If I can still execute against the goal, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, and I think that the reality is, you're probably going to come out of it at the end of the day, compared to somebody that has never ran or never lifted weights in their life or whatever. Like, you're a long way from that, right? Even if you do get some injuries along the way, the amount of work you put into your body that's a consistent thing.
Well, that's what I'm counting on, right?
Yeah.
So I'm actually counting on the fact that I'm going to eat away a lot of my body good thing I have a sufficient amount of it.
Extra muscle, yeah.
Right? So like, for example, Dave Proctor, he's from Calgary,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And he broke the record last year to run across Canada, and he ran 7,300 kilometers, 67 days, 10 hours. And that's 67 days, 10 hours. So the pacing, he was in around 6 minutes a kilometer every single day. For each of those days, so 106K a day or whatever it was. But his frame is significantly different than mine, right? So I'm counting on me. Like, look, I don't know if I can break the record. I'm just an athlete who's trying to do
Try your best,
and do my best to see if I can. And I think I can get very close to it. From like, if you were to calculate from 2020 to 2025 when I run across Canada, that would be a 5-year span, going from 0 kilometers to, I can for sure almost think I'll be at 100 a day at that point. So I'm hoping to count on eating away the body, whereas I know he tried it a couple years ago and he couldn't finish.
He probably did the opposite.
Because he's been an ultra endurance marathoner his entire life. He hadn't done all the other modalities like me. So I'm hoping that's a benefit. So I can counter, or at least, circumvent the lack of experience that he has.
Yeah. I hope so too.
Yeah, that's the goal. I mean, here's the thing, man. At the end of the day, record or no record, whatever. I'm gonna be running across Canada.
You're
It's
gonna
a
raise
reality.
money. It's
To
gonna
raise
be for a
money,
good cause. You're gonna
awareness, all the things associated to it, and I'll get pretty close to breaking a record. Going from no running whatsoever to like a significant amount. Like I have goals every year, right? And my training goal this year, like the 22 marathons in August, is really to train. To build up my body, because I was talking to my coach last year, and we were talking about, okay, we got to figure out something to do to really get this training going, right? And we came up with a few things, and then eventually we came to this, because I need high volume, and I need a bunch of days in a row of doing a lot of volume. And so I thought, if I'm going to be training anyways, okay, let's fundraise again. And the reason why we're doing 22 marathons is because it's a significant number, to be honest. And the 22 marathons in 2011, a study was conducted in the United States that revealed that 22 veterans a day commit suicide. Now, that was over 10 years ago. And I know for certain that if you were combining Canada, United States, veterans, and first responder, that number soars. So we're just using it as a conversation piece for that number. But having said that, I'm doing 22 again next year, but they're going to be 22 ultras in a row.
Oh my God.
So this year, and like I've already planned what that one's going to be, because I'm just nuts that way. But that'll be running from Regina Depot, the RCMP training facility, to Victoria, which is 1,800 kilometers. And the goal would be to run 80 kilometers a day for 22 days. So that's why this year's marathon 42. Then I want to double that up for next year, and then when I run across Canada, hopefully I would have close that gap to a significant degree, but I have to drive. The velocity's got to be high for me to do that.
You gotta try it to know.
You
gotta test
push
the boundaries.
That's the biggest thing with marathon long distance training. Anything over a half marathon is really the overall training volume. Like if you're training for a half marathon compared to a marathon, you're not just doing twice as much for the marathon, you're doing more than twice as much.
I mean, I'll give you an example, what I've done in the last 4 days.
Let's hear it.
I came here on Sunday, I did the Chestermere half. Right? I did that, and then...
Because you can just casually do that, show up, run a half marathon.
I have a buddy of mine who it was going to be his very first marathon. He lives in Chestermere. He registered for it, and he goes, "Hey man, I'm going to be doing this marathon." I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it with you." Right? So, and for me, it's going to sound like... I'm not trying to sound arrogant, but it's a training day for me. So I was like, cool, man, I'll do it with you. I'll support you while you're doing it, and I'll get a training run in. Okay, cool. Now then Monday, we did Howling. I guess it was an 8K up and down, 900 meter elevation. Then I ran 24 after. So I came home and ran 24K, and then today's Tuesday, right? So today was a recovery day. So I went to the gym. 30 minutes on the treadmill and then a little bit of a lift. Tomorrow back at it. 26 kilometers tomorrow. So it's like, just...
Your rest day is somebody else's on day, right?
His rest day is somebody else's lifetime achievement of running a marathon. He does that every single day.
You know what's crazy? Everyone who's listening to this can do the same thing.
They absolutely can.
They can. I never thought in a million years I would say I'd run 21K. Just I'm just gonna jump in for it.
Yeah.
In a million years, that never even entered my mind.
Mhm.
And now I'm like, holy crap, man! I could probably run 50K. Not probably. I can run 50K a day right now.
Yeah.
That's nuts. And so, without going into too much detail, are you suffering with any injuries right now that you're? I mean, you say your ankles.
So I have no problem being full disclosure. I mean, a few years ago, I tore my Achilles tendon twice.
Oh boy.
Oof.
So, but the funny thing is that's not that problem. But I have to compensate on my left side all the time, like massively. So my right side tends to be a little bit more swollen.
Yeah.
So my right foot, my right ankle, my toes. I mean, it's really that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's nothing's severe injured. There's I mean, maybe there's a break or something, but I mean, it could be a small, tiny one.
Stress fracture. Yeah.
But other than that, overall, knock on wood, like significant injuries, I haven't had any.
That's awesome. I mean, like rupturing your Achilles is significant, but I mean, you've done well, obviously, considering the stress you put yourself through. Ooh, it's lightning outside. But these, for a lot of runners, you got to pay attention to the ankle stuff. A lot of times that's a career enders, and Achilles, it can be a really hard thing to come back from. And you really have to train your ankles in a lot of dimension. Like for sure, you want the strength. You need you got to have the mobility. You got to have the proprioception, the balance, that ability to quickly react to changing environment. Right? You really need to feel the ground under your feet and have that sense. Have your toes working, and then also be able to pop off, have the plyometrics and that quick stretch contract reflex going. So there's lots of steps in training that are involved to get a full recovery from something like an Achilles tendinopathy.
And I love that you brought all that up because, so I don't lift like I used to anymore, right? Like I've stopped jiu-jitsu. I've stopped everything. Everything's focused on how to be a better runner and getting all my recovery time. Now, having said that, all I do for my legs workouts is that.
Yeah.
That's all I do now. Like I'm trying to do the toe separations, my toe up, like big toe up and down, like all the individual type of stuff that you're gonna need to do. I do all that stuff. I'm trying to balance, so I've noticed an improvement in just a year from doing that, man. Because up a Howling, man, like going up that was not. It wasn't hard.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Right, and I feel like I could have ran it, and a year ago I couldn't have done that, and that's because of the feet and ankle stuff that I'm doing. Like it's not because of the leg stuff, because my legs were strong. And
your legs were good.
It was fine. It's the feet and ankles, be able to push off and.
Right, and hiking is such a very beneficial type of exercise for your goal.
Yeah, 100%, because it's slow. It doesn't have to be fast at the moment, right? Like, and I'm getting that training and getting the elevation and all this stuff.
Yeah, changing terrain.
Yeah, the terrain up and down, like all this stuff, man. It's opened my eyes because I never hiked before either. Like the first time I went for a hike was last year. Like I never went to the mountains, never did any of that stuff. But now it's like, even from a mental health perspective, it's been a game changer, man. Like, and I'm from an immigrant family, Indo-Canadian. You know, it's not a normal practice in my culture for people to be actively hiking mountains and stuff like that. At least when I was growing up, it wasn't a thing. So for me now doing these things, man, it's like an eye-opening experience to see the benefits, not just physically, but mentally. It's a game changer. For sure.
That's a great point. Like, people don't even know how good things can get. You know, they'll see someone going for a run or going from the gym and it seems like it's good and improving their life. But like, until you're actually in it, then you realize every single aspect of your life gets better in every way. It's amazing.
No, but it's not even an exaggeration.
It's not.
It absolutely is true.
And and people, if they're listening to this and they're like, yeah, right, it's not that good. Like, they have to do it in order to find it out themselves. There's no other way.
No, and I want to illustrate that I'm not special at all, right? Because I drank a ton. I used to do a lot of stupid things, like a lot of stuff, and like what I've achieved in a short period of time, really anyone can do. It just requires conviction and consistency of effort, and that's the only real thing that I have, maybe that some may not have.
Right.
It's not the physical capabilities, because I'm average, to be honest. I don't have any genetic gifts. It's just my conviction and the consistency to doing the thing over a long stretch of time.
Yeah.
That I can do.
That's a big takeaway, guys, and it, it can start today for you. It can start any day of the week. It's just you got to do it the day after, and the day after, and the day after.
Yeah, and if you can, this is what's really helped me in being able to set astronomical goals, is that set the 10-year plan, not a 1-year one.
Right.
It's a 10-year plan.
Yeah.
As soon as I frame it in a 10-year plan, it becomes way easier to execute against, because all you have to do is the same stuff over and over and over and over. Look, David Goggins.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, oh my God, amazing.
Mm-hmm.
He's been doing it for 25 years.
Yeah, he's pretty good at it at this point.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
what it is. Like you do jiu-jitsu for 10, you're a black belt.
Yeah.
You do
Anything for 10
Olympic
years.
athlete
Yeah.
takes 10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could do the same thing if
Yeah.
I spend 10 years doing the same thing. That's
Yeah.
it.
It's such an amazing point. Like you
Yeah.
people totally underestimate what you could do in 10 years, obviously. But when's the last time anybody has ever been like, okay, this is where I'm going to be in 10 years?
Yeah.
Like,
Seriously.
that's actually a really difficult thing to do and requires a lot of reflection,
Yeah.
right? So, where along that line, what year are you on now?
3.
Yeah.
3. And year 10, what is the achievement?
So I can't project that far in the future, but I know with what I'm doing,
Yeah.
the outcome will be pretty remarkable
Yeah.
and astonishing. I do have goals, and not just physical ones. I also have community-based ones. So I've started a YouTube channel about a year ago. I put a 10-year plan on everything I do. So if consistency of effort, I can do that with my physical body, I can do that with anything that I put my mind to. So I got a 10-year plan for my YouTube channel. And the goal is to have 1 million subscribers in about 10 years. And 1 million subscribers generates 600K. And that's just off of Google revenue share.
revenue, yeah.
That doesn't include all the sponsors that would be associated to that.
Yeah.
And my goal is, like, I don't need a lot of money. I can, if I make enough to pay my bills and have a nice life, cool. The rest is going to the community.
Yeah.
That's my goal. So that Honor House, we can have one in every province across Canada. So if I can generate, let's say, in a certain amount of time, let's say, throw a number out there, let's say 500 grand. Well, okay, I can pay myself a bit, and the rest, 500K, 400K goes to Honor House. You guys figure out what you need to do with that, and we just keep pumping it up. Because then people can understand, okay, there's a channel out there, Canadian channel, that you can be inspired by, that you can be entertained by, that that money is going to a good place to help people. And I do a lot of fun, stupid things. Document the whole thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna be running across Canada, man. I want to document that whole thing. I mean, the whole purpose is to inspire as many people as possible to do something for other people and for the community around them, and that's the whole goal, man. And if we can figure out how to do that over a 10-year plan.
Totally. I really think you're a character that resonates with a lot of people, and like even just I was listening to your podcast, preparing for this podcast, and was like, hey, I'm finding myself kind of motivated right now. That's pretty cool.
Well, man, I don't know what to say to that, but thank you for for me, it's a new sort of thing too, man, because I don't think of myself as anything special at all, right? And if what I'm doing is inspiring, cool, that's cool. But I don't know if I'm, how would I say this? I don't see myself as an inspiring person.
Yeah, you're like, I'm just a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just doing what I feel is maximizing my skill sets. And I'm just trying to serve the community through my own skill sets. Just same way you guys are doing it. You guys are doctors, man. You're serving the community. There's no difference, right? I just wasn't smart enough to go to school and get the diploma
Smart
or
enough to
degree,
do
right?
a lot else.
Yeah.
I feel like, if I can just maximize my own skills and then, see if I can help as many people as possible through that process.
That's awesome. Well, you already have, and you're about to help a lot more, and we're so grateful to have you on this podcast.
Appreciate it, man.
Fantastic guest. Proactive Health Group, the clinic here. We're gonna try and publicize your goal and your mission, and do what we can for you. So, really appreciate you coming in today.
I appreciate you too, man. And if anyone wants to make a donation, I just want to mention that they can go to my website, suchinmotion.ca, my Instagram, all the stuff. Anybody wants to make a donation, if it's a Canadian donation, you get a tax receipt. So I don't get any money, it goes straight to the charity. It's all legit, so no worries.
Yeah. You heard it here.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks again, and thanks to our listeners. We appreciate any support that we're given, and we're really, pretty amazed, and it's pretty cool that people take interest in this kind of stuff and actually are listening in. So you can follow us at Move to Improve _pod. We're on, again, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, whatever, all those things. And then you can always book with one of the health practitioners here at proactivehealthgroup.ca if you'd like to do that. And thanks again. Take care.
Thanks, guys.